Welcome to the Ride With Us podcast, presented by the American Coaster Enthusiasts, the world's largest ride enthusiast organization dedicated to the appreciation, promotion, and preservation of roller coasters around the globe. So please keep your hands and feet inside the podcast at all times as we welcome in your host.
Hello, enthusiasts. It's your host, Jessica Gardner. We just got back from 2024 ACE Spring Conference. It was at Kings Island in Ohio, and it was an incredible weekend. In the next episode, we'll be recapping the entire event for you. The ERT, the behind the scenes, the night rides on the Beast, oh yeah. But in this episode, we thought we would do something special and share with you one of the live presentations you missed if you didn't attend. Kings Island was kind enough to let us record this, and we want to share it with you. This event was Saturday night of SpringCon at the Kings Island Theater in front of a full audience of Acers. You'll hear from Kings Island Vice President Mike Koontz, who walked us through his career history as well as some of the history of the park. You'll hear ACE President Elizabeth Ringas give out some very special awards. But first, have you ever heard of the film Rollercoaster from 1977? Well, our first guest of the night was very involved in the production of the film and delighted us with some stories about his experience. This is founder and CEO of International Theme Park Services, Inc., Dennis Speigel. Enjoy.
So I thought it'd be fun to tell you how the movie developed like it did. I got a call from Universal Studios, two gentlemen called Lou Wasserman and Sid Sheinberg. And Mr. Sheinberg and Mr. Wasserman were two of probably the most powerful people in Hollywood producing movies. And they had done Earthquake, they had done Towering Inferno, they had done Poseidon Adventure, and a whole slew of other movies that were really huge. And they said, we'd like to come and use King's Dominion in the making of our movie. And they said, well, what's your movie going to be about? And they said, well, it's going to be about an extortionist who goes through amusement parks, extorts money. If they don't pay the money, he said, then they're going to blow up your roller coasters. And I said, that's not a real good thing for our industry. That doesn't sound good. So here I am, 30 years old or whatever, talking to these two guys who are so powerful. And they said, well, you don't understand. They said, whether you participate or not as a park, we are going to do it. We already have an agreement out in California with Magic Mountain, and we have an agreement over in Norfolk with Ocean Park. And I said, well, can I see the script? Can I understand it a little bit more and read it? So he said, sure. And they were very, very kind. And so they sent me the script. I looked at it, and they had, Mike, you'll appreciate this, they had transient bums running our rides, drinking out of fifths of whiskey. And I said, that's management. That's not the operators. You got to understand that. We do that over in the Caprice. That's not the right operators. No, I didn't say that. I said, that's not our industry. I said, we have wholesome, wonderful young people, high school, college students that we recruit, come from all over the United States to work in the parks. And I said, you know what? I'm going to read the script, and I'll get back to you. And I said, would you agree to let me come out and work with your script writers to address issues that you're not familiar with in our industry? And they said, yeah, we would. So I went out and to Universal Studios and met with Sid Sheinberg and Lou Wasserman and some of their team. And we sat down, they gave me the script, and I stayed there a few days, and I brought it back to Virginia, to Kings Dominion, and worked on it a little bit. And we decided to do it again, because if I didn't get those changes in, the movie would have really been distorted on how the industry looked. I wasn't happy with what was happening in the movie, but it would have been distorted. So it was kind of a compromise, if you will. So I negotiated with them, and there's that was the extortionist. Anybody know who that is? Yeah, Tim Bottoms. He was a great guy, very quiet, really a nice guy. He was there. These actors were with me about 6 weeks. I'll tell you a couple of stories here about becoming friends with them. But yeah, Tim, and he's up on the Eiffel Tower, and he's looking through the thing, trying to find George Speigel to see if he's mic'd, which you'll see here in a minute. This is during the filming of the movie. So I worked on the script. We got it done, negotiated a contract with them, and Mike, they paid us, I got them to pay us $250,000 to shoot in the park. That was a lot of money then, a lot of money today. And they were kind of upset with me during the negotiation, because I knew they were going to do it, so I kept pushing them on that issue, and that helped our season actually that year. So that was kind of good. That was looked upon very fortuitous by the management team. George Speigel, who you see there in the front car, look at the apparatus strapped on the front of the Rebel Yell. It was amazing. George was just a wonderful guy. George had won an Academy Award in a movie with Elizabeth Taylor. He was one of the biggest actors in Hollywood at that time. And he really was just a fun guy. And he would come up to my office every night after shooting, rather than go back to the hotel. We'd sit and have a bourbon, and he was a banjo player. And he'd bring his banjo in, and he'd sit in the office, and he'd just put out an album called, you can look this up, the Yama Man, and he had just previewed it on Johnny Carson. And he'd sit there and play and sing, and we'd drink bourbon and have a good time. That went on for about 6 weeks, and it was kind of fun. So I have to tell you, I'm jumping ahead a little bit here. So they're there 6 weeks. It's very intense. I've never seen more money wasted in a 6-week period in my life. Never. I mean, like, I wish senior management could have seen it. They would have loved us, pinching the pennies. They came in, took my marketing director's office, totally tore it down, repainted it, refurnished it, and made it a bedroom for a scene that was going to be in the movie. And took them about 2 weeks to get everything done. Maybe a week for that one. And never used it. Never used it. So the marketing director says, do I have to go back into a bedroom, or do I get my office back? So they had to put it back. They put his thing back. They brought in food trucks from Hollywood. And we put them in the maintenance building. Every day they'd eat lobster and prime rib, and this would go on and on and on. This went on for 6 weeks, and I'm thinking, we're over in our little area having a cheeseburger and a cup of chili. But they would say, hey, Dennis, come on over and have lunch, bring whoever you want. But that's kind of money that was spent. This slide was done when we were shooting the helicopter scene. If you know, where it flies over the Rebel Yell and you think the Rebel Yell is going to be blown up. And I'll tell you what, I sweat bullets for a week. They brought in this helicopter pilot who was phenomenal, the best in the world, and he literally flew 20 feet over the track. So the roller coaster, he was just like that, and then he would cut off to the back. So after I saw him do it 4 or 5 times, I felt a little better, but those first couple of times, with a train underneath it, okay? So he was following the train going like this. So it was pretty incredible. And if you look up there, the guy number 8, is Richard Munch here? Is he still a member? Minch? He is not here? That's him, number 8. And the good-looking guy down there in the red tie, he's here tonight. Only partially. Yeah. So that was kind of good. So here's George. Remember, Tim's up on top saying to him, hold your hands up, whatever his name was in the movie. Mine was Pierce. And he's telling him to show us you don't have a mic on. So he's doing that, and he's looking through the thing. The movie was the either first or second most expensive movie at that time. It cost $17 million. First movie in Sense-Around, if you remember. And if you saw it, I don't think well, it's not in theaters now, but you'd go into the theater and just shake, the seats shook. It was crazy. And that was part of that incredible amount of money that they were spending on it. So it was really, really looked upon as a cutting edge movie after Earthquake and some of that. Anybody know who that is? Yeah, you must be old. Who's that? Richard Widmark. This was the greatest guy. He was one of the biggest stars ever in Hollywood. He was, Henry Fonda was in the movie. Richard Widmark was in the movie. George Segal, Tim Bottoms, Susan Strasberg. Helen Hunt. It was her first movie. She was the little girl. She was the daughter. And Richard, he really took a liking to me as a young man. And whenever I was out on the set, here come Richard out of his trailer, and he'd say, hey, Denny, how do you do this, and what do you do with the roller coaster there? And then if Mike would walk out and come over to me, he'd go right back in his trailer. And I thought, what's wrong with him? And I figured out he was a recluse, and then the director said, he doesn't like to talk to a lot of people. He just gets with a few people. But he couldn't have been a nicer, sweeter individual. What I started to tell you about George a minute ago, so 9 months later, everybody's gone. We're back to normal, and I'm out in Hollywood. I was the liaison for this company, the King's Company, between Hanna-Barbera and the parks. And I was checking in the Beverly Hills Hotel, and I go downstairs to the apothecary to get some Alka-Seltzer. And here's George Segal standing there checking out. So I walk up, and I bump into him like this. And he goes, excuse me. And I go, I really give him a good elbow. And he goes, excuse me, Denny, what the hell are you doing here? And I said, if I'm going to have my movie debut with you, I want to make sure I'm not on the cutting room floor. So I came out. We went up into the Polo Lounge and had a drink and laughed for a while. So those are just some of the side stories. So Richard was just a tremendous guy, and this was one of his last pictures that he made. But if you Google him and see him, he's in all the great westerns and war movies and everything. He was really phenomenal. If you look here in the background, that was my office at King's Dominion. Okay? We started I had 6 speaking lines. I got residual checks for that movie up till 2 years ago. And I think the last one was $1.50 or $1.75. And I'm not kidding you. I'd get a check for $200. I'd get one for $40. I'd get one for $2. I got one once for $2,500. Austin told me it was 13 cents. Sometimes the tax was more. And, so they shot that in my office, and they started at 7 a.m. At 7 p.m. that night, we were still shooting that damn scene. They shot me like this, like that. But what I want to tell you really, really quickly is, so Richard, sweetest guy, very demure. He said, Denny, you want to go over your lines before we start shooting? There are 30, 40 people in my office. All the ceiling's been taken out. There's more lights than in this theater, and they've got them all over us. And I'm sitting there by the desk, and I'm kind of trembling. And I said, yeah, that would be good. And he says, okay. And the line, I'm not going to get it right, but it was, George Speigel says something to Richard about the extortionist, and I say to Richard Whitmark, would somebody mind please telling me what's going on around here? And we read it just like that, and he says, it's simple, Pierce. They're going to have put a bomb, and they're going to do this and do that and everything. So we're not shooting yet. We're just kind of practicing, and they're getting the staff's getting everything ready. So now it's Jim Goldstone, who's the director, goes, action! I'm sitting at the desk now. I'm nervous as hell. Okay, never done anything like this in my life. Sitting there, and he goes. George says his line to Richard. I look up and I say, would somebody mind please telling me what's going on around here? And Richard Whitmark looks at me and goes, it's simple, Pierce. He's going to take a thing out the back and thing. And I go, my God, why is he mad? And honestly, I almost passed out. I swear to God, strike me dead. I almost passed out. And then I went, he's acting. So because he was rough in the movie and he didn't like George Speigel, so he's taking it out on me. But they never told me that, okay? So we did. Jim goes, cut. Let's work on that one a little bit. So it was kind of fun. But in the background, I just wanted to show you. You see that painting? That's me. This is the last of the story, and you can see it kind of faintly here. And I want to tell you a real quick story on that. That was done by a 19-year-old Vietnamese soldier who was a colonel at 19 in the Vietnamese army, okay? And he came to America, and King's Dominion was his first job. He went down on Interstate 95. We had a big billboard, Mike, down there at the toll gates. Had our logo and everything. Didn't have my picture on it, probably should have, but didn't. And he copied the King's Dominion logo and the rides that we had on that billboard, and he painted me into that. And he came to my office one day, and he was crying, and he said, I just want to thank you for giving me this job. And this is my first job in America, and how wonderful it is, and to be at a place like King's Dominion. So it was fabulous. So, he had just done that not too long before that. I had it in the office, and I said to Jim Goldstone, I said, if you want to get that thing out of here, we can move it. He said, no, I want it in the movie. That's great, we'll have it in the movie. And I thought, well, that's not too bad. So I didn't really think that then. I thought it was, let's get that thing out. So anyway, he did that. They left that in, and then they sent me this poster. When they left, they gave me the signed script, which I still have, with everybody, every cast member, all the actors signed it and everything, and I still have that somewhere. It's probably at home, right? Somewhere. But what I wanted to tell you all tonight was it was a great experience. It was a wonderful experience. I'm not sure it was a box office success, but it was pretty good. And here is the. That is. So, my son Austin's up here in front. He had that reframed, and recently has been down in the basement for 45 years. And what I was going to do, Mike's going to speak, and then after this, if you want to go out front, I'm going to take that out front. If you'd like to get your picture with that, not because I'm in it, just because it's one of the only remaining things I know from the Rollercoaster movie that still exists. You're happy to have your picture taken with it if you'd like. That's up to you. And what else did I want to say? I think that was it, Mike. I'm just really happy to be back with Ace. I'll be here after you're done. If you have any questions about anything or anything more on the movie, I'd be happy to answer it. But thank you for being here. And Mike, thank you for inviting me back out. I really appreciate it. And we'll be out front, okay?
Let's hear it for Dennis.
No autographs, please.
This is really amazing. I'm sure there are plenty of people who are going to want a picture with that and with you as well, sir. And now we are moving on to the VP and General Manager of Kings Island. It's Mike Koontz is going to come up here and speak to us. Welcome, Mike. And thank you for welcoming us to your amazing park.
Thank you guys for being here. So I'm hearing through others that you're having a great time so far. I heard that you got to ride the train backwards this morning. I haven't even got to do that. So I did ride, and I was the fireman once and got to pull the whistle. You know, they let me do that. So. Unlike Dennis, you know, who kind of started his career in this industry, you know, how many years, Dennis?
Started in 59.
In 1959 at Coney Island. Quite a career. 50 years ago in June, I visited Kings Island for the first time as a 16-year-old. I did not live in Cincinnati. I did not have an amusement park in my backyard. I grew up in a town right outside of Charleston, West Virginia called St. Albans. Does anybody know where St. Albans is? Yeah? Okay. My dad was in the gas station business, and I worked for my dad during the summers, you know, from the time I was 14 until I graduated college, pumping gas, changing tires, you know, washing windshields, all that kind of stuff. But in 1974, you know, a couple friends of mine from high school, they said, "Hey, there's a new amusement park in Mason, Ohio. Let's go." And prior to Kings Island, the only amusement park I had ever been to was Camden Park in Huntington, West Virginia. You could kind of say that was my home park, but again, my dad worked hard. Okay, my dad worked 6-7 days a week, you know, from sunup to sundown, and he didn't take much time off. So once a summer, maybe once every other summer, we'd go to Camden Park. Okay, as a kid, and I can remember that, but I can really remember my first visit to Kings Island. Oh, I got the clicker.
God, I thought I took it.
Okay. So, unlike Dennis, I only have one slide. Trust me, I could have filled the rest of the night with pictures. I have so many pictures, you know, of Kings Island. I have. Does anybody remember the old Kodak cameras that? The what? The Instamatic? I don't know. It wasn't Polaroid. It was back in 1974, so I can't remember the name of it. But anyway, I still have pictures, you know, from my first visit to Kings Island. I don't have them. They're just real pictures. Yeah. I should have taken a.
They had film.
Yeah, they had film back then. And but let me tell you, you know, in the last 52 years, you know, over 150 million people have walked through the gates of Kings Island. And every single one of them, you know, has seen this when they walk through the gates. There's probably been more pictures taken in front of the fountain with the tower in the background than any other place in the park. You know, and when I said I only have one slide, because this slide tells a lot of stories, right? Right, Dennis? Yeah, and you know, over the years, you know, as everything changes, you saw the movie, the Brady Bunch episode earlier, and I'll tell you that, you know, I saw it because I was paying attention to where they were at and trying to, you know, figure out where they were at in the park. But the conference room, you know, that Mike Brady was in first with, you know, is the current administrative office conference room. It doesn't have the brown paneling in it anymore. but that desk that was there and when that TV show was produced is the same desk or the same conference table that's there today. It's original to that office. It's so big, I don't know how they got it in there because it is a huge, huge conference table. But going back to how did you start in the amusement industry? So went to college, got a degree in finance and accounting. And I love going to amusement parks, but I didn't see that, as my career. Didn't even dawn on me. So I became a CPA. I got a job in a big, tall, 13-story office tower. Well, maybe 14-story because I don't think they had 13 floors. Big, tall, 14-story office building in Charleston, West Virginia with a public accounting firm and wearing a suit every day. And I was really good at it. And, as a lot of accountants do, I got an offer to go to work for one of our clients, which is a retail company. Dennis may remember, or some of you may, who lived in this region, but it was a discount retail company called Hex. And I worked for that company, and they went into bankruptcy, and I had to look for a job. Okay, I had a daughter. I was married. So I ended up getting a job with a big retail giant at the time in Columbus, Ohio called The Limited. I worked for Express, and back then, Express started Bath and Body Works. I'm sure everybody in this room has, at one point in time, has showered, rubbed lotion or something on them from Bath and Body Works, right? So I worked for that company. In 1998, found myself looking for a job. And through, I tell the associates that work for us, I really mean this, because a lot of our associates will come up to me and say, Mike, I want to be the general manager of Kings Island someday. And I'm like, do you really? And they're passionate. Our associates who work here are passionate. And I've told them, I said, well, your career is not necessarily a straight line. Your career is kind of like a roller coaster, to use that analogy. It's got twists and turns and ups and downs, and sometimes you get stuck on the ride and you have to be evacuated, sidetracked. So, out of the blue, I get a call from a recruiter, from somebody that I knew that I had worked with when I was at the Limited stores. And they said, and I had interviewed all over the country. I had interviewed with all the prominent retailers in the country. And this recruiter calls me and says, it's not retail, it's kind of like retail. I said, what is it? He said, it's Kings Island. I said, you gotta be kidding me. They got real finance people there? Seriously. So Tim Fisher was the general manager of Kings Island at the time. Tim Fisher is currently the chief operating officer of Cedar Fair. And I came, they asked me if I could come the next day to interview. So I came to interview with Tim Fisher, and went home. This was before cell phones, or when cell phones were in like a suitcase. So I got home, and my wife says, "You got a phone call. Here's the guy's number." So I called. It's the recruiter, and he said, "Can you go to Charlotte tomorrow for another interview with, the CFO of the company and other executives of the company?" I was like, "Sure." How do I get there? And I said, "Well, we already got your plane ticket and everything." So flew to Charlotte, came home the next day. They said, "We want you to go back to Cincinnati to interview again with Tim and some others." So I'm like, "Sure." I thought these people are crazy. So Tim made me an offer to be the Kings Island Vice President of Finance. And that day changed my life. And I look back on that day, and I go back to when I was not in this industry, as an associate, And we start hiring sometimes as early as 14 years old. My grandson is 15 this year, and I'm like, there is no way he could work at this park. But we start hiring at 14 years of age, and quite honestly, I think our oldest associate right now, I think who works in admissions is 87 years old, something like that. So, but I enjoyed going to amusement parks. I'd gone to Disney and Universal, and I'd gone to the Busch Gardens parks and others. But there was something special about Kings Island. And experiencing as a guest, I've got a picture of my office of my daughter when she was, I think, 3 years old, sitting on one of the snails that were outside the Enchanted Voyage ride. That's a special picture for me. And when I look at this, what I also see is not just people coming through the gate, but making memories, okay? And how many memories have been made here? Generational memories. I came here when I was 16. I'm 66. I'll just say it out loud. I'm 66. Okay. I think Dennis might be a year or two older than me. Yeah. Okay. But I look back, at my first visit. The first time I brought my girlfriend, who I ended up marrying here. When I had my daughter and brought her here. And then my daughter has she has 2 kids, I have 2 grandkids. And when they came here for the first time, I had tons of pictures. I was going to show you all the pictures of my grandkids, because I love my grandkids. But I think about the memories that are made here that are generational, that are priceless. And so, although I didn't start in this industry, again, it's not for everybody, right, Dennis? It is not for everybody. I remember when I first started, they said, "Yeah, oh my gosh, the season is so long, and it just beats you up." At that time, we didn't have Winterfest when I started in 1999, and we had season ended at the end of October, and I'm like, this is a piece of cake, because in retail, we're open 363 days a year. And we had stores on the West Coast, East Coast, and it was like, this ain't nothing. But they were right. But I fell in love with this business. And you say, well, how did you get to be the GM from being a finance guy? That's a good story, because I say that to myself as well. How that happened, right? Because a lot of our GMs grew up in the business. They were in operations, or they were in food, or probably not human resources, right? Marketing, food, revenue-driven pieces of the business, operations, sometimes maintenance, but a finance guy. But my career, again, I go back to working for my dad, working at a gas station. I learned a lot about service. And one of Kings Island's cornerstones, Cedar Fair's cornerstones, is service. It's providing that service to your guests. Treating your guests with respect, and providing them with, whether it's changing their oil, or giving them a ride on Orion, or Diamondback, or Banshee. But it's about passion, and I found a passion for this industry. I found a passion for this business, and I love the operations of the business. I was only here originally for one season, because I started in November of '99. The park was closed, and that's when I started. And when I got here, I asked Tim, because Tim was the only one here on property. And I'm like, where is everybody? He's like, well, they're all off. They're all taking their vacations. I'm like, where's my staff? And he said, they're on vacation. I said, what do we do? He said, it's just me and you. We just sit around and talk. And I'm like, okay. But guess what ride we were building at the time? in the fall of 1999, Son of Beast. Wow. That was my first year as a finance guy, was keeping track of how much it cost to build Son of Beast. The budget, it was a nightmare. The budget was $15 million. That ride ended up costing $26 million. You know, the $15 million ride was on a flat piece of ground. That's the way it was originally designed. You know, those of you who have been out there, you know, maybe some of you rode Son of Beast back in the day. I did. I rode the very first day. I thought, man, this is great. It ended up not being so great. Not every, you know, maybe we should have blown it up. Maybe we should have done the movie here and blew up that ride. So it was redrawn, re-engineered, you know, several times. The company that, you know, I remember the name of the guys because I went to Atlanta one day with Dave Foke. Dave was our VP of Maintenance Construction. And the company who, you know, designed and was supposed to be building the ride with us, you know, they weren't good partners. So they, you know, and it's like we had a contract with them, and I had studied that contract. You know, it's like I'm not a lawyer, I was an accountant, but I can read, right? And I'd studied that contract, and we'd agreed to meet with the owners of Rollercoaster Company of Ohio, you know, which is based in Georgia, meet with them. So Tim sent Dave Foke and I down there to meet with the owners. I'm not going to say their names. And I was prepared. I had studied that contract. I was ready for anything they threw at us. And we'd agreed no lawyers. This was a no lawyer type meeting. So we went down there. Dave started talking, and they said something. I'm like, that's not what the contract says. And they kind of looked at me. And Dave said something else, and they'd respond. I'd say, contract definitely does not say that. And I'm like, okay, this meeting's over. He's an attorney. We said no attorneys, meeting's over. And I said, I'm just the finance guy. So, you know, there's a, you know, I appreciate, you know, Dennis's stories about, you know, not only this, and Dennis and I have lunch, you know, chat with each other, you know, at least a couple times a year. And, you know, those who grew up in this industry have a lot of stories that they can tell. And I can certainly, you know, 25 years, you know, in this industry, I have a lot of stories to tell. We don't have time for all of them. But, you know, since I've been general manager, and I went back and I look at this, again, because I'm a finance guy, I kind of know these numbers in my head. So, you know, October of 2016 is when I became the general manager of Kings Island. You know, I was so happy, so proud, you know, that Richard Zimmerman, who's currently our chief executive officer, you know, because he had asked me before, do you ever think about being a GM? I'm like, I'm not sure I want that responsibility. He's like, hey, you'd be good at it. So in October of 16, so in 2017, we opened Mystic Timbers. You know, my first ride that I got to open. And I was so excited about that ride. And I have to tell you, I mean, it's like, people ask me all the time, it's like, Mike, what's your favorite ride? You go out and ride rides all day long? I'm like, nope. Actually, I did go out today at 5:30 and I rode Snoopy's Soapbox Racers. It's a great ride. Kids and their families and coaster enthusiasts alike are going to love the ride. The backwards part, you know, I think I'm getting too old, but the backwards part, I was a little bit queasy. Maybe it's because I just had something to eat, but I didn't throw up, don't worry. So, Mystic Timbers. The same year we brought back Winterfest. And I have to tell you, you know, I have a lot of special times of the year that, you know, people say, what's your favorite time of the year? It's like this, every year on opening day, this picture was taken this year on opening day before the park opened. Every day I go out and I take this picture on opening day, as a reminder, of what we do, for you. But Winterfest, bringing back Winterfest, I could tell so many stories about what it took to get ready for opening of Winterfest that first year. Watching the process of them turning the Royal Fountain into an ice skating rink is mind-boggling. And it takes so long. I thought I had a lot of patience. My wife tells me I'm the least patient person she knows, and it's true. Robert, and my ops people, my live entertainment people can tell you, it's like, just get something done for me, please. Okay. It's like, I can tell you, like the Eiffel Tower, okay, with the light strands to make it look like, a 314-foot tall Christmas tree. Beautiful. I had lots of pictures of that I could throw up there too. That first year, and again, it's like technology. We had to put in a lot of infrastructure, a lot of, what do you call it, Robert? Those big green boxes you see along the fountain and through the park. That's what we had to put in 2017, for Winterfest to be able to do some of the things we did. But anyway. So I'm standing there, it's like every night at 5:30 we do the countdown, to light up the tree and light up International Street to open Winterfest every night. So that first year, first night it worked, second night it didn't. Third night it worked, fourth night it didn't. So I got to the point where I was like, oh, please work, please work. So, and they coined the phrase, Mike has this disappointed dad look. Right, Robert? But, so Winterfest. In 2019, we decided to reimagine International Street, bring back some of the, the original feel, do some things with the fountains, which I know some people, didn't like that I took the original pods out, but we couldn't do some of the things with the lighting that we can now do technology-wise that we couldn't do with those pods in. And it's like I've learned being the general manager of Kings Island, one of the most, highest attended amusement parks in the world, regional parks outside of, the big boys. The park has won countless awards, a lot of firsts in the industry. What I have learned as a general manager is I can't make everything right. I can't fix everything. Right, Dennis? I want to. I really want to. And, those of my team that are here, I keep looking back at my tech team back there, they will agree with that. I have high standards, right, guys? So anyway, reimagine International Street. My tech services team, the glockenspiel on the front of the Fest House hadn't worked in years. I said, we got to bring that back. We've got to restore that. So we were looking at different clock faces, and the company that originally did the clock face on the front of the Fest House for the glockenspiel, we had contacted them, and they showed us their catalog of what they currently had for clock faces. And we picked one out that we liked, and then the owner of the company, I can't remember the name of the company, he calls and says, not good enough. We're gonna do a custom and put it back and make it look like the original clock face. So, and then, so Antique Cars, International Street, the glockenspiel, we did a lot of, nostalgia type things in 2019. Then COVID hits. Oh my gosh. Not too many general managers have ever gone through a COVID. That was fun. And are still here to talk about it. So we opened, well, let me go back to 2019, Grand Carnival. We opened in 2019. What an amazing event. Then in 2020, we were just about finished with Orion when we shut down. Everybody went home. We said, stop. We were so close to finishing it. So in 2020, we opened on July 8th. So when we were able to come back and finish it, we had a decision to make. Do we open it now, or do we wait until 21 when maybe COVID won't be a thing? I said, we got to open it now. Tim Fisher still disagrees with me to this day, that we should have waited. But I said, I can't make people who are coming to the park wait. They're going to see that beautiful ride sitting there and nobody riding it. It's not right. So we opened that in 2020. In 2022, on April 29th, 2022, we celebrated Kings Island's 50th birthday. Dennis was there. Right, Dennis? You were there, right? I remember you being there. There's been 11, I'm the 11th general manager of Kings Island, and we had 7 of the living general managers at the park on that day. There's only, the other 4 passed away. That was quite an experience. Gary Walks, the founder of Kings Island, gave a remarkable speech. Gary calls me all the time now. Gary and I, he loves coming to the park and reminiscing about, what he and his family and others like Dennis, did. Not for the Cincinnati or Mason, but for you. Okay. So last year Adventure Port, this year Camp Snoopy. Okay. I rode Snoopy's Soapbox Racers today at 5:30. It's a great ride. It's the first time I rode it. Okay. We just got our license yesterday at 3 o'clock. Okay. So I know we auctioned off, first riders for this group, 20 first riders. I'm sure some of you are here. So, all right, I'll see you there at 6 o'clock tomorrow to get you on that ride. Okay, last thing real quick, or a couple things real quick. Everything we do, whether it's rides, food, shows, entertainment, nighttime fireworks, everything we do is for you. We have such passionate, loyal guests, season pass holders, that's what's made this park special. But I have to tell you, we have the same thing with our team. Our team is so dedicated. I'm so humbled by the passion and dedication they have to deliver that experience. We talk about the guest experience every single day. Every day. We look at what did we do good, and what didn't we do good. And some of you tell us what we didn't do good, and that's good. We need to hear those things. Like I said, I can't fix everything, right? But we try to do everything we can do to make our guests happy. Kings Island's a special place. It's welcomed, like I said, over 150 million guests who have come through those gates, and that's the first thing they see. The rides, the coasters, Banshee, Diamondback, Orion, the Beast, Racer, Mystic Timbers, and Vertigo. There's something here for everybody, generational, even the train, going backwards. Thank you guys very much. It's been a pleasure. And now I want to turn it back over to Jessica.
And clear it over here. Don't go too far.
Okay. All right.
Thank you so much, Mike. And now we have 2 quick presentations from our ACE President, Elizabeth Ringas, and Events Director, Steve Berto. And while they're coming up, I can save everybody the Google search. Rollercoaster is not available on streaming anywhere that I have found, but I did find it on Amazon for $15. Here's Elizabeth and Steve. Take it away.
I'd also like to have Chad Showalter. You out there? Could you come on up? And I don't know if Juan is out there. He may not be. But if you're there, could you also come up? I can't tell you enough what a joy it has been working with Kings Island. And I really did want to point out, Chad, we've been attached to the hip for a while. But thank you. And I want to, again, if we could all thank Kings Island for this experience we've had for this event.
What amazing memories we all made here this weekend, right? Yeah. It's just been wonderful getting to share all of this fun with all of you. I am honored to serve as your president, and we have a small gift to the park as a thank you, so y'all can remember all the fun and memories you helped us make. And we have a framed photo, and this photo was taken by Dave Jackson, who is in the audience. Dave, there he is. We always try to focus on featuring a photo taken by our members because you all are what makes our club. This is our club. And I want to take just a moment of your time. I know you have coasters to ride. So be aware, because I have coasters to ride too. I want to be out there riding with you. I can't wait to experience another night ERT on the Beast. And this is where my heart for ACE started. This is where I found ACE. And so I am honored to share all this with you because this is truly the heart of ACE for me. Well, I didn't expect that to hit so hard. But we do this as volunteers because of our passion, exactly what Mike is talking about. It's the driving of the passion, the memories, the being together, right? And that's what drives us all as volunteers to do what we do. It's an honor. What I get to do is serve you all as your president, and I love to hear what you all think. We want to hear your opinions and your thoughts, so please keep them coming. Y'all can reply to that bi-weekly email anytime and ask questions. And I want to take a minute so you know who the face is behind that email. Jess Nemec. Jess Nemec is the face behind that email, and she will always answer your questions, so you can reply to it anytime. But our volunteers are what makes this all happen, and I couldn't do what I do for all of you without an amazing team behind me. So I want to take a minute to bring up our executive committee members. There's so many more faces in this crowd. If you are a regional rep, a coordinator, a manager, would you please take a moment and stand up? These are the individuals that give part of their week and sometimes every day of their life to make the things that happen in ACE happen, all at the service of passion, fulfillment, and fun, and bringing us together in a weekend. But sometimes there's one that goes above and beyond. Some have served in many roles, and I want to take a moment to recognize one of those individuals tonight. He has served as a mentor. He's established processes and guidelines to keep us on a path to make sure that we are providing a consistent experience and that you all have a great experience as members. And he continues to serve and offer insights and guidance on legalities particularly. He's very attentive to our bylaws and our Constitution. And so tonight I'd like to take a moment to recognize Robert Ulrich. Robert, will you join me? Robert, I want to take a moment to recognize you as an honorary member of ACE for all you have done for this club. You've been a mentor to me as the regional rep, region director, and wonderful inspiration to this whole club. And so tonight, we present ACE salutes Robert Ulrich for his service to American coaster enthusiasts. Robert raised his family in ACE and has served our membership extensively as the ACE Southeast regional rep, region director, and our president, during which he initiated the ACE Advantage and contributed to the development of ACE Europe. Robert currently serves as the immediate past president and the ACE representative on the National Rollercoaster Museum and Archives Board. ACE and the amusement industry have benefited from Robert's tireless service, thoughtfulness, and continued contributions, which have significantly impacted both ACE and the amusement industry. Robert, thank you for all you've done. Congratulations, Robert. Well deserved. Thank you. All right. Steve, any last words before we go out to ride coasters? This group's y'all hang out. I'm going to steal a few more minutes for quick pictures.
Yes, I also wanted to have some recognition for Dan Jones. Are you out there? Can you please stand? Just wanted to thank him and his team, and that's Alexa, Corey Maley, Bill Chaco, and Olivia. They're all part of the registration team, and they have just done a phenomenal job. I hope you like the new badges that we finally introduced for this event, and the lanyards. So we're constantly looking to make improvements. So again, if you have any thoughts or ideas, please feel free to always email me with any of your ideas and thoughts. Very much appreciated.
Thank you so much, Acers, and to everyone listening at home. We don't want you to miss any upcoming events, so make sure you keep checking the website, ridewithace.com, and see more coverage from ACE Spring Conference everywhere you consume your social media. And if you haven't joined ACE yet, what are you waiting for? Thanks for listening. We hope you get to ride a coaster today.
Ride With Us is produced by the American Coaster Enthusiasts, a registered 501c3 organization. Visit ridewithace.com for additional information, and we will see you at the parks.